Now, the metaphor that I use with my clients to help explain this, and it seems to work for almost everyone, is to think of your brain like a computer that has a bunch of files in it where you're storing every trauma you've ever had in these files. And then you ask yourself, well, how does the information actually get into these files in your brain? Well, when you have the initial trauma, your body shakes, you get sick to your stomach, you have heart palpitations, and those feelings are encoded some way in your acupuncture meridians and transmitted up to your limbic system in your brain, like Andrew was talking about earlier. So the acupuncture meridians essentially are the scorekeepers, and the limbic system is the scoreboard. So you're installing this pathologic program in your whole system that's going to be in that file forever until you do something about it. So all we really do in EFT is scan through your file until we find the name of the folder, repeat that phrase over and over again, which is the name of and we hit the delete key over and over again. And basically, by the time you're done, you've uninstalled that program. You still have the file, it has the title, has some pictures in it, might have some memories, but when you open it, next time there's no program that runs. And once you've freed your body from that program, you essentially have emotional freedom. And this whole concept of the body keeps score, I think originated back with a famous psychiatrist, Bessel van der Kolk, who is one of the guys who developed the PTSD criteria for the DSM-4 manual. And he wrote this article, and I actually tell people, you don't even know what's in the article. You don't even need to know what's in the article. You just need to know the title of the article, The Body Keeps Score. Memory and the Evolving Psychobiology of Post-Traumatic Stress in the Harvard Review of Psychiatry back in '94. Ever since people's responses to overwhelming experiences have been systematically explored, researchers have noted that a trauma is stored in the somatic memory and expressed as changes in the biological stress response. Now, an even fancier way of saying that is from one of the journals that's in our field now, the Energy Psychology Journal, from Jim Lane, who's a researcher. This article, The Neurochemistry of Counter-Conditioning, Acupressure Sensitization in Psychotherapy, goes into the neural mechanisms of how this actually might work. Acupoint stimulation during episodes of hyperarousal can send deactivation signals to brain structures that regulate affect. When a memory or thought that triggers limbic hyperarousal is evoked, and acupoints that decrease activation signals in the amygdala and related brain areas are simultaneously stimulated, hyperarousal is reduced. When the memory or thought is then reconsolidated, the strength of its ability to trigger hyperarousal remains diminished, leading after a number of exposures to the procedure to the extinction of the elevated limbic response. In a nutshell, what the metaphor of the computer works again here. If you open up a file and you mess around with it and make some changes and then you save the file again, it's not the same file that was there when you started out. So if you can make the changes to your traumatic experiences within your body and your nervous system, you can actually delete that experience from your body. And if the body doesn't remember it, it doesn't count anymore. And if you want more information about EFT research, EFT Universe has a research link which has every article on EFT that's been done in the past a dozen years. Okay, so my first case report, this is actually my very first EFT patient. I had just learned about EFT from Cheryl Richardson, who's one of Oprah's coaches. She heard I was doing acupuncture and hypnosis and said, well, you got to learn EFT. So I went to Gary Craig's original website, downloaded the manual, read the manual. It was 80 pages long. And I read it in two nights and I was teaching a stress management class at Duke for undergrads. And this girl had hives all over her body after a car accident. And really big, itchy, blotchy hives. Couldn't study. She was so upset. She went to student health. They gave her some Benadryl medication. The hives went away, but then she was too drowsy to study, so she didn't know what she was going to do, so she went back off the meds, and the hives came back. So she's in class sort of desperately saying, what am I going to do? And I said, I just learned this on the internet 2 days ago. I'm sure it'll work, you know. So the first thing you do is have someone come up with a phrase that symbolizes or captures their traumatic experience. And this was her phrase: even though I had a scary thought I was going to die car accident, I deeply and completely accept myself. Now, she'd been on the Jersey Turnpike in the rain and spun around 3 times and hit a telephone pole and her airbags went off. Had no physical injuries, but had these terrible hives. We did the EFT and her hives went away and never came back, and she never took another medicine. So it was a real breakthrough for her. Now, the more detailed story about this is that I had to coach her to come up with the right phrase. Her first phrase was, scary accident. That was it. And I said, and the typical thing that we do is ask on a scale of 0 to 10, what are your subjective units of distress? And she said a 6. But she looked like it was higher than a 6. So I said, add some more words to your phrase, more emotional words to make it fit with what you're feeling. And she said, scary, thought I was going to die, car accident. That made it an 8. So she was, and it looked like she was an 8. 10 being the worst thing that ever happened in your life, and 0 doesn't bother you at all. So we tapped on that, and really, I had no idea what I was doing. I was just like reading from my notes from the manual, and I just, okay, it says that, tap like this down one side and tap like this down the other side, and then I said, how do you feel now? And she goes, well, it went down to a 4, and she looked more relaxed. And that took 5 minutes, and she goes, I got to get to my next class in 20 minutes. How long is this going to take? And I said, maybe another 5 minutes, So she's down to a 4, and I said, okay, it says to either do the same thing again and see if you can get to a 0, or pick a different phrase if there's some other phrase that's more important. She goes, oh, yeah, definitely. I'm thinking, what could be more important than almost dying in a car accident? And she goes, totaled my dad's car. So I said, okay, let's work with that. So it was like, guilty about my dad's car, guilty about my dad's car, guilty about my dad's car. Tapped on that, and I said, okay, let's do an experiment. Go to your class, come back to my class in 2 days. Don't take any more medicine, and just tap if you need to tap. So she comes back to class. She's beaming. 2 days later, she says, I had no more hives. I felt itchy every once in a while, and I just did some more tapping. And I tapped on all my other car accidents. Which is a great punchline to the story, because I hadn't told her to do that. And that was her inner healer taking over and saying, this worked for that car accident, I bet it'll work for all the other ones. And that's actually a common theme that we see in EFT work is trauma comes in a theme through your life. One car accident, you keep attracting more if you believe in the law of attraction until you've cleared that original trauma out of your system. It's like your body's way of saying, hey, we never really handled that first divorce. I got to have 3 more before I can figure out how to deal with this. So that was having a case like that as my very first time when I didn't know what I was doing was just a miracle. So I said, okay, I'm going to start doing this on all my I was doing acupuncture at Duke at the time, so I said, I'm going to do them with all my acupuncture clients. I'm just going to tell them, we're going to need to warm up your meridians before we put our needles in. And they said, oh, okay, I'll do that. And is there something you're upset about? And they go, oh, everybody's got something they're upset about. So I figured, okay, let's go with this. But first, we're just going to go through and show you how it actually works. We always usually start with the self-acceptance statements, which is a longer phrase. And I tell people this is a paradoxical affirmation. It's got to have negative and then positive. So even though I have this scary thought I was going to have a car accident, I deeply and completely accept myself. And then you fill in the blank with this reminder phrase. We call that the reminder phrase. That's just the issue about the upsetting event or feeling. And then you rub on the sore spot on your chest, and we'll go through this later. We're going to do the experiential part at the end. Between the ribs, and repeat the statement 3 times. Or when you're dealing with macho guys, sometimes they don't really want to rub on their chest. You tell them to do the karate chop point. And you bang on like you're doing a karate chop. That works also. Then my wife's a professional photographer, so she sacrificed my face and put the dots on it here. So these are the points, the acupuncture meridian endpoints, and you don't need to know the names of the acupuncture meridians. You just need to know where the points are. And you tap down, and usually tap from here down here, and then